Good morning, Lennox. Good morning, Andy.
Morning.
Good morning to the new dispensation of the ground report, as ever powerful. And let me say, as I was in Jamaica, happy African Emancipation Day to Trinidad and Tobago, and happy Independence Day to Jamaica and to Trinidad and Tobago coming up. Andy Williams, I want everybody to understand the power of sport. Sport is life. Sport epitomizes what life should be about. Sport is about merit. Sport is about science. Sport is about genetic excellence, hereditary, training, discipline, punctuality, passion, patriotism. The reason why the Olympics grabs the attention of the world, it is an opportunity to show the brilliance of your culture, of your people, of the tapestry and the spirit and the intelligence, creativity, and skill of your people. This is why governments all over the world invest time, money, coaching, education, science, facilities, in order to show the rest of the globe what their comparative advantage is, to market their countries, to market their people, to show that their political system, their education systems, their systems of government are superior. This is why we all are enthralled by the Olympics. The PNM has embarrassed Trinidad and Tobago like never before on the world scale. On the world stage, the PNM has taken a people that are naturally inclined to intelligence, skill, brilliance, high performance, great genetic makeup, discipline, passion, and patriotism. And they have shown the world weakness. They've shown the world an embarrassing picture of total, complete failure. Let us be clear. Our athletes deserve applause. They deserve respect for the efforts that they have put out. But having said that, this is not something that just occurred today for today. In order to fail so spectacularly, the PNM had to put in place a plan to project failure at every single level. Had sport, just like, and I want people when I'm going to analyze sport, to think about the energy sector. The same applies. To think about the road networks and the potholes and the collapsing and the sinkholes. The same applies. Think about the education system from Montessori to primary school, SEA, college, into the cuts of gate. The same will apply. Think about the society and the poverty and the sufferation of people, the hunger, the loss of jobs, and the same will apply. Think about safety and security and the overtaking of our country by bandits, and the same will apply. The same application must be made as the PNM is a failure from top to bottom. And I'm going to detail it in sport, but you can put it in every aspect. In order to project such the worst performance in the history of the Olympics, if we go back to 2016, where the remnants of what I left in sport was still just trickling through the grassroots system, we got a bronze medal from Keshawn Walcott. In 2012, 2.5 years after the People's Partnership was in government, Kamla Prasad-Bissessar, who loved sport, who played netball and hockey and badminton, who understood in Jamaica and Mona as she studied the importance of sport, and put in a minister of sport who loved sport, passionate about sport, and understood. In 2012, 2 years and 4 months after I was sworn in, we got 1 gold, 1 silver, and 2 bronze medals in the Olympics. We had 11 finalists. We had athletes qualifying in 6 sports. We were on the rise. TT Pro League football was moving. Super League was moving. Cricket was moving up. The T20 squad was dominating the Caribbean. Everything in sport was projecting forward. We had 89 grounds being developed, and total participation in sport was increasing. We had sport camps. every Easter and summer holiday for 21,000 children, including the differently abled. Special Olympics and Paralympics made front pages and were performing and winning medals. Across the board, funding for sport was increased, and the education sport development officers, 75 of them were employed at the ministry and deployed across the country. Rural sports coaching caravan facilities were built and maintained. Sports science was on the way. A sport tourism master plan existed, and sport awards, the Spirit of Sport Awards, was there to enhance and to acknowledge all the efforts of grassroots sports. The increase in funding from sports went up in the NPI vote from 10 million to 150 million, and taking out separately cricket, football, netball, and big sports like that required larger sums. Sport was on the rise. Trinidad and Tobago was performing at a high level. There was pride, there was patriotism. We were showing the world that we are leaders. Then comes the PNM. First and foremost, when you choose leadership, leadership must be qualified, must be creative, must be passionate, must have experience in the field in order to move forward. If you choose a man who cannot pass a pharmacological exam to put him in charge of health, as opposed to a qualified specialist doctor who studied and has 30, 40 years in experience like Fuad Khan, like Dr. Tim Gopi Singh or Dr. Lakram Bodo, when you put a blithering idiot like Diyal Singh in charge, our hospitals kill babies, kill precious lives. 21 babies in April, upwards of 28 babies, simply because the leadership is dotish, the leadership is dunce. They don't want to put people in positions who are qualified by merit, and therefore bacteria takes over, mistakes are made, and the people suffer. Babies die because of our stupidity. We embarrass our flag, red, white, and black, because of PNM stupidity. They cut funding across the board, but starting at the beginning, Keith Rowley does not care about sport, because by his selection of a minister who, one, does not like sport, she did not want the portfolio. When she was appointed and moved from tourism after Smallpin, Young and Rowley was walking all over her portfolio trying to bring sandals into Tobago for the government and the people and the taxpayers to pay $7 billion to build a hotel for a man. She was moved to sport, and she said, when your own dog bites you, you're well bitten. She did not want to be the Minister of Sport. Start there. Think about that. If you're going into surgery and you have a surgeon who didn't want to be a doctor, who couldn't qualify to be a doctor, who didn't study to drill in brain and so on, would you feel comfortable with that person going into your brain to do a surgery? You would be dead on the table. Sport is dead on the table because Rowley killed it. The PNM killed it. He put Shamfa Kujo there because he had, for politics' sake, just to give she a portfolio. Here, give she that. And so she is be called minister. She could dress in she fancy, Yves Saint Laurent and all of her fancy clothes, and she could look a little lighter than when she first come in and so on. That's all very well and good for her. But when you put her in a critical ministry that propels and promotes the image of Trinidad and Tobago, and you put a complete failure who does not even want to be there in charge, this is why you embarrass the country. This is not the first Olympics that we get zero in. They had our Olympics in Tokyo in 2021. We made nothing. We got nothing. We embarrassed ourselves, and again the PNM is here embarrassing us. So one, Rowley put a minister who he does not have to listen to. Ministers in a cabinet must go and fight for resources. If you are a minister of sport, you have to fight with the minister of local government, the minister of health, the minister of works and transport, the minister of education and so on. You have to go with cabinet notes and say, hey, in this pile of money, I want money for coach education. I want money for athletes. I want to pay for the surgeries of my athletes. I want more elite athletes to get funded. I want more massage therapists, more sports scientists. I want to maintain the grounds and the tracks and the pool and so on. I need money. You have to be able to go and argue. If Champa don't even know that she don't know, but she don't know that she don't know, how she could go in the cabinet and fight for anything? So you start off with a minister who's useless. Then Rowley says, sport, me have no time for that. I just want anything in sport, it had to be built so Noel Garcia could build it. That's all. So he moves all the construction and all the sporting development and maintenance and so on away from the sport company and puts it in the hands of Noel Garcia, because whatever bill in this country, Rowley said Noel Garcia had to build it, because that and Rowley and Noel Garcia thick as thieves. They're friends. They were in the Commission of Inquiry in Las Alturas together. They were in HDC together when Edinburgh Towers was built, when Greenvale was built without approvals. Them know each other right through. Them trust each other. So Noel Garcia had to build everything. So sport is left without any investment. They then cut all those things that I spoke about. They cut elite funding. They cut funding in the NPI board from 150 million for 49 sporting organizations down to 10 million. They cut funding for Pro League. They cut funding for Super League. They cut funding for cricket. They cut funding for gymnastics. They cut funding. They fire all the sport development officers. They cut out all the sport camps. They cut out the coach education. They cut out the rural caravan. They cut out all of the science and the sport, the gyms that we were putting down. They don't know how to utilize. They cut maintenance for the stadium and all are falling apart. They cut sport in school, just like they cut PAN in schools. They did not educate teachers and increase their knowledge to identify talent. They cut funding for sporting competitions down to the primary school games. Some were cancelled. Cricket games, competitions at primary school, secondary school cancelled. They cut everything, and now we get curtailed because the PNM's policy was designed to show the world that we suck because we have the PNM. So you understand now that you cannot hide away in the Olympics. You see, in Trinidad and Tobago, the PNM could do anything. And the mass media, the Guardian, the Express, the Newsday, the TV6, the CNC3, will create ways to tell the population, in the face of abject stupidity and incompetence, hey, the PNM is still there. It's still good. Look, last week they gave ratings of the PNM anniversary, and Stuart Smallpin Young, that arrogant dunce who his family has become rich since he swearing on the Bible to be a minister in Rowley, Bumsey. He and his family, his brother's company, NCB Global Finance, get up to $5 billion in government work. His father in charge of the IFC gets $15 million a year for 9 years. His father in charge of the Economic Development Board that had collapsed when Terence Farrell resigned. Stuart Young come to give the PNM. When people are dying, people are suffering, babies dying in the hospital, man busting tire in sinkhole. As it drizzle, we flood. Education levels down. Sport, we just embarrass ourselves in front of the world with the most abject failure in sport. Education, crime, gun, home invasion, murder, everything, mosquito biting me and we dead in from dengue. He come and give himself a A grade, and people take that and say, okay. But the problem is, in the Olympics, Andy, the world is watching, not the Express, not the Guardian, not the Newsday, not PNM media. There is merit in the Olympics. So you can't hide, you can't obfuscate. When you go out there and swim, you see the time with all the other flags beating you. When you go out there and ride, you see the times and the video of us coming last and getting licks. When you run and you run 3:06.73, let me tell you something. That 4x400 epitomizes the incompetence and the disgusting lack of investment, intelligence, and creativity of the PNM. We are the country of 400 running. We are the country of quarter milers. We are the country of Wendell Motley, Edwin Skinner, Roberts and Bernard. We are the country of 1964 bronze medal in that 4x400. We are the country of 1966 Commonwealth Games, Kingston, Jamaica, world record with Wendell Motley anchoring. Do you know in 1964, our Trinidad and Tobago team on a hard track, that Mondo track was so hard when you walk on it, all your hip, your ankle, your knee hurt you, with all heavy shoe and spikes. They ran in the Olympics in Tokyo in 1964 and did a time in the heats of 3:050. You know, our PNM national team, supported by the PNM and lack thereof, went in the Olympics 2024 this month on a super fast track where you're bouncing off the track, you're comfortable with fancy shoes that give you spring when you drive off the track. It bounces you up with tight clothes that reduce the resistance of the wind on you and so on. And we went 3:06.73. A second 0.73, nearly 2 seconds slower than our relay in 1964. I'm giving you these examples to show you how terrible the PNM is. The PNM sucks. The PNM is disgusting. The PNM is incompetent. The PNM must go. PNM must vote against PNM just to save us from embarrassment. Do you know in 1964, in the final, that Edwin Roberts and Ed Skinner, Kent Bernard, and Wendell Motley, they went a time of 3:01.17. You know what time our boys went last week? 3:06.73. The U.S. women went 3:15. The women nearly beat we. Now, this is not by fluke. Just like you plan for success, you put every piece in place. The PNM has planned. Due to their lack of care, their lack of heart, their lack of passion, their lack of interest in sport. Everything that they did, every program they cut that Kamala had there, every bit of funding, every bit of coach education, every bit of respect, every bit of reward, every bit of talent identification, total participation in sport. They cut everything, and that's where we reached. It was a perfectly implemented plan of the PNM to embarrass Trinidad and Tobago internationally through its lack of investment in time, energy, and intelligence in sport. And that's where we stand right now. The PNM must go. Imagine I now get a letter from some PNM tourism agency, for example. Now receive it. Them inviting me to come and help them to do a sport tourism plan. Them had to be mad. I will not help Rowley do anything. I will not help the PNM do anything. The PNM has damaged this country for 9 years, taken us backwards. Rowley has created a situation where citizens are at the mercy of criminals and bandits. Rowley has created a situation where mosquito killing me, where children are dying. The only thing I will help Rowley and the PNM do is get to hell out of government. They are incompetent. They are an embarrassment. They have embarrassed the red, white, and black through the lack of funding, the lack of support, and the cut of everything that is for the people. Sport is for the people, by the people, of the people, and PNM has failed because PNM is not about people.
Wow. Listen, there are about 3 things I would want to discuss with you. The first of which, a bit hilarious and making the news nonetheless, is about a shoe that seemed to have fallen apart. Are you familiar with that?
Let me tell you something.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. They say when a cow shoe came off and fell apart and whatever. Number one, if that is true, that just shows. Let me tell you something. When I was minister under Kamala Prasad, they had about 85 athletes getting elite funding up to $250,000 a year to pay for their equipment, their gym, their doctors, their coaches, their travel, their competition, their food, their supplements, and so on. The PNM has cut that down. When these elite athletes get injured as they would in service of the country, as minister under Kamala Prasad, the government and the taxpayer would pay for their surgery, pay for their rehab to make sure that they are ready to perform. The PNM cut that. No. So I don't know about if the shoe dry rot and all that, but what I can tell you is that is no excuse to run 3:06.73. If you run without a shoe, if your best time is 45.0, the shoe might give you for the most, the widest, most, the easiest, most generous time would be a second increase. So if you run 45.0, you go run a 46 without your spikes, right? So how we were 8 seconds off our best time. So there's no excuse and no talk about no shoe. The team was not prepared. We were ill prepared. It was not about one event. Dylan Carter swam in the Olympics and unfortunately was horrendous. Furthermore, it's not only the PNM. The PNM has charted that. But when you have leadership and your leadership is terrible, not creative, not passionate, it trickles down. So then from the poor leadership of the PNM, you then have the poor leadership of the national associations because PNM put the people in place. I now see Larry Romani, another one of the PNM sycophants, is in charge of the sport company. The Olympic Committee has become a PNM party group. It's Brian Lewis who screened for Port of Spain South to try there, but they choose Keith Scotland. Is Larry Romani. It's Douglas Camacho, the former chairman of the sport company, now replaced by PNM Larry Romani, who was Colmin but campaign manager. The Olympic Committee is PNM. That's why we suck. The ministry is PNM. That's why we suck. The NTAs is PNM. All of them should go. All of them don't care. They don't care about people. They use the position just to travel and take perks, just like champagne she Roman bill. Understand that this is not something that can be fixed easily. It can only be fixed by change in leadership, by change from the top, by change in prime minister, change in minister sport, change across the board, because the PNM has infiltrated our systems with the feces that is the PNM.
No. Yes, go ahead, Mikey. Go ahead, Mikey.
I gotta ask. I have to ask Senator Anil. It's hard for me to believe what you're saying. I am certain there's a medal somewhere, perhaps in a bag, tucked away shoe, because you cannot tell me after $500 billion, $500 billion has been spent. We are having this conversation. There has to be some medal somewhere, perhaps in the bottom of a suitcase.
Well, I can tell you, Mikey K, all the medals have been hidden in Balize House, because as the years roll by and you see national awards transformed into Balize Awards, where you can see 30 people receiving national awards and 27 is African and 20 is PNM and only 3 Indian, and it's not based on merit, and only PNM sycophants who went in Balize House and licked K-Pax getting national awards, and a doctor who during COVID oversaw 5,000 people dead, every variant come, but he was just espousing the policy of the PNM, gets the order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. A PNM sycophant and a disgusting woman called Kangaroo is now the president of our republic. PNM Balize juice is poison. PNM Balize juice is licks. PNM Balize juice does not bring greatness. PNM Balize juice cannot win Olympics. PNM Balize juice is a disease of this land, and we must vote it out. Just like how the police was looking for the Obia man in Tobago, why they didn't look for Rowley when he boasts that he put Obia on Manning? The PNM must go. They're poisoning our country, Mikey K. They had no medal, no way. $500 billion. Half of it spent by Noel Garcia, interlocking directorship, corruption, procurement legislation watered down, one board, Ingrid Lassie on 9 board, all of them neighbors at Inez Gate, all Rowley friend and them under criminal charges, and Rowley is the prime minister. Those Olympic performances are stamped and stapled to the chest of Keith Rowley, that bald-head dunce. Tobago has rejected Rowley. Rowley wife reject Rowley. What is left? Only for the people of Trinidad and Tobago to reject Rowley.
And the other issue, of course, I talk about 3. The other one, Sean Walcott, he just got some funds as an elite athlete. There is some disquiet as to the circumstances. Could you confirm that whether it's post Olympic or prior to Olympics? I would have imagined it would have been before Olympics. But of course, the minister was there saying that is as a result of recognizing his elite status and of course
well,
executing
if she
the elite
now
status
recognize,
policy.
boss, if she now if she now realize Keshawn Walcott elite status, she is only 12 years late because it was me as the Minister of Sport under Kamla Prasad Bisesa who, when I was in the stadium, I met Keshawn Walcott. I didn't know who he was at that time. In February 2012, I met his manager, and his manager told me that the entries was not allowing the young boy who was due to go to the World Junior Championships and to the Olympics in 2012 to train with the required javelin, the javelin with dimensions, weight, size, angle, and grip, and so on, that was utilized in international competitions. Well, as a coach and a passionate sport lover, I was in abject total shock. But these entries, people are PNM party group. So I told the manager to bring Keshawn and come in the ministry. I sat with the permanent secretary. And before the World Championships and the Olympics of 2012, Kamla Prasad Bisesa's government, through her minister, me, we bought a javelin for Keshawn Walcott. I handed it to him. He trained with it. He used it every day. He felt it. His workouts improved. He went to the World Junior Championships and threw gold for Trinidad and Tobago, putting us on the map, showing our brilliance, our creativity, our ability to expand into events that we had never performed well in before. He then came down, trained with that javelin given to him by the UNC, the People's Partnership. He trained for a few more months, getting his steps correct, getting his throwing angle correct, pumping up, getting powerful. And he went to London in front of the world with 207 sovereign nations competing. And he threw that javelin at a distance of 84 meters, 58 centimeters to win gold for Trinidad and Tobago because of the care, the passion, the investment of Kamla Prasad Bisesa, the UNC. So for Shampa to now talk about Keshawn Walcott being elite, he has been elite since 2012. Richard Thompson, Keston Bledman, our 4x100 relay from 2008, who have been uplifted to gold because Nestor Carter of Jamaica tested positive. Shampa Kujo refuses to meet with them, refuses to reward them, refuses to recognize them, refuses to hear about plans and programs that they would have for the upliftment of his sport. Shampa Kujo is a disgrace. I am ashamed that I'm actually mentioning her name in sport. She did not know nothing about sport. She don't want to be in sport. She don't like sport. And therefore, sport is suffering under the PNM. Get rid of the PNM.
Wow. I agree with you. And finally, for me, gentlemen, at the commencement of their stint back in 2015 and the controversy surrounding according to them, I'm talking about the PNM and Dr. Rowley, about the profligacy of the PP government. But then, of course, Imbert, as Minister of Finance, then said that there was some money left by the last administration, meaning the PP, for sports. Sports had a lot of money in a particular fund, and he would repurpose it. I just wanted to find out from you if you knew or if you're aware as to what was done with that money, because clearly what has happened is that
I'll tell you what he did with that money. He took it away from the people. He took it away from facilities. He took it away from the refurbishment and enhancement of Hasty Crawford for our athletes to ensure the continued relevance of the track as a Division 1, A1 rated track where Olympic and world records could be broken. He took away the money from funding for community development facilities for netball, air-conditioned courts, badminton, table tennis. He took that money, he put it in the consolidated fund, put it as discretionary spending for Noel Garcia and Rowley to spend, and they built car parks for 131 million and no car park. They built a building, a health building that flooded out the other day, and the hospitals have no medicine. They build Rowley's residence and budget it at 8 million, and it goes up to 64 million. They build the Red House for 142 million and rain on Donald Cox weave. They build another Skinner Park, 131 million, and they turn a football field that FIFA games and World Cup could play into a sweat pitch. The PNM is corrupt. They took the money and they spent it where they want to spend it, with who they want to spend it, and embarrass our country, embarrass our athletes, embarrass our flag. The PNM is a cult and must go. Trinidad and Tobago is better off without the PNM. If they left sport on automatic pilot, we would have been able to win medals just like 1948. Rodney Wilkes, 1952, Rodney Wilkes and Lennox Kilgore, MacDonald Bailey in 1952. 1964, we had sailing teams. We had Olympic medal in 4x4. 1976, Hazley Crawford in Montreal. 1996, Atto Bolden, 2 bronze. 2000, Atto Bolden, silver and bronze. 2004, George Bovell with his coach Anil O.E. Roberts, bronze. 2008, Richard Thompson, silver, and now the relay gold. 2012, 4 medals. 2016, bronze with Keshawn. That is without PNM. PNM sucks. Even PNM people should vote out PNM, especially now that Rowley wants Stuart Smallpin Young to be the next leader of the PNM. Yes, all your PNM, take Stuart Young and all your perfume. God bless. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Senator Anil Roberts, and former Minister of Sports. Best Minister of Sports.
Yeah. 2021 and 2024 under the PNM, dry.
Zero.
Dry.
Dry like the current soul in Grenada, but Grenada get Olympic medal though. But we have West current soul.
Yeah, but the thing about it, remember too, gentlemen, that, like, for example, breakdancing is a one-off thing. Breakdancing is not going to be back in the LA Olympics, at the next Olympics. Then can we introduce things like home invasion, baby killing in the NICU?
Oh, Lord.
As extortionist? Well, as a one-off.
Gentlemen, I leave you all with this. If you love your country, and if you work for your country, and if you want to see your country take its step among its brothers and sisters globally, you must save your country from the debilitating suffocation of the PNM. When it is time to vote in every constituency, there must be no place that is safe for the PNM. You must do the PNM like what the people of Tobago did the PNM. Reject them 14-1. Reject them 98%. Reject the PNM. God bless. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.